Hey there, welcome to This Week in Pharmacy. I am your host, Todd Dwyer, founder of the Pharmacy Podcast Network. Excited to be with you here today. So much is going on, and it's only been a month. I think I'm tired already. No, actually, I'm pretty pumped up. I'm pretty excited about what's happening in our profession. January was amazing. I got to go to my first conference that was not in pharmacy and not in healthcare. And that was the PodFest and Healthcare Amplified, which I got to be a speaker at and talking about the importance of like-minded people in healthcare, as well as content creators, more specifically our podcasters. They got together in Orlando, Healthcare Amplified, and put together an amazing inaugural program about content developers and podcasters in healthcare. It was amazing. And I got to talk about our networking strategy and why we do what we do in order to amplify what's happening in our healthcare system, in our nation, throughout the globe. We are expanding globally. I can't wait to share with you what's coming up internationally in 2024. We're not ready to announce it yet, but just listen to This Week in Pharmacy and we'll definitely update you. Hey, it's February. Can you believe it? February already. You can't say Happy New Year anymore. I mean, you can, but it's like wearing white pants in is it the winter or the spring? I don't remember. All right. So February. I am headed to the Pennsylvania Pharmacist Association annual meeting, and that's taking place tomorrow, Friday through, I think, Sunday in Harrisburg. I'm going to be excited to be there covering it as press, very proud of this association and how it's grown. More specifically, PPCN, Pennsylvania Pharmacy Care Networks, which is supported by the National Association, CPESN, that's our Community Pharmacy Enhanced Services Network. And people, listen up. That's right, you people listening, all of you farmers out there. These organizations and these people like Troy Tragstad, for example, that originally had these ideas of tracking, gathering data, implementing new techniques to treatments, and adding supplemental information, supplements and information to the treatment programs and plans driven by pharmacists and getting paid outside of the prescription. Because right now we're, the whole landscape of what is pharmacy is all governed by the money for that prescription dispensing fee. And PBMs jack that up so much that it has to be reinvented. We have to restructure and come out with a new payment model, which pays pharmacists not only for a dispensing fee and management of the medication and the process and the first check and the last check and the safety checks, which is primary, but the secondary source of income for pharmacists will become you tracking treatment programs and following up with treatment programs and really enhancing the services that are kicked off and the treatment that's kicked off by our physicians. So I'm excited. February. Okay, it's leap year. Can you believe it? I always forget about leap year. And anybody that's born on leap year, it's like you get one birthday, every 5 years, every 4 years, whatever leap year is. Yeah. It's Black History Month. What an important month in representing what's happened in American history and how Blacks have led so many facets of healthcare, technology, podcasting on our network, and just excited to be celebrating this month, Black History Month. All right, so if you didn't know, the Pharmacy 50 concluded. It was an amazing campaign. Shout out to everybody who won. If you ever are curious about supporting one of your own, and you want to make someone feel good about what they're doing in the industry, and you want to say congratulations to them, please go to pharmacy50.us. That's pharmacy50.us. Reach out to one of these 50 amazing providers and leaders in our pharmacy industry. I was honored to see such a impact that this awards program made and how fast it's grown. Thank you to Cardinal Health and to Independent Pharmacy Cooperative, IPC, for sponsoring that. That really meant a lot to us. It helped us reach so many more people. We had more votes than we've ever had before, by about 4,000%. So if you want to watch the awards, if you want to reach out, but more importantly, networking with these people. Some of these Pharmacy 50 award winners are people who build business and sustainability in community pharmacy. Shout out to DRC Vaughn, Dr. Vaughn. There's people on this list that do nothing but soak and saturate their minds into pharmacogenomics data, like Dr. Sarami, Banaz Sarami. We know that long-term care at home is exploding and the need for pharmacists to lead that. Lindsay Constantino with her network, long-term care at home pharmacy network. I could just keep going through this list, but I want you to go through this list because I think it's important for you, the listener, to start building networks with some of these people and do something with it. Take advantage of what's happening in your profession, especially if you are not satisfied with your current position as a pharmacist, whether that be in community or long-term care, or maybe you're a medical science liaison and you want to make a change. It's the only way you're going to make a change, and the only way it's going to stick at this stage of your career when you go into that next level is your network. You have to build a network. We're going to do some specials on talking about networks, but that's not what today's programming is about. Today we have a really exciting return guest. Dr. Ashley Dwyer is coming back. She hasn't been here since I think COVID just started. I think it was 2020, so it's been a while. And Ashley has come a long way. We're really excited to share with you what she's doing as a leading fitness coach, based on science, based on her pharmacological background. It's really interesting. Next, we'll hear from Darshan Kulkarni. He's going to give us his update. He brings us some amazing information every week. And then we're going to hear from Dallas Vasquez, because we're going to be talking about Kratom. What the heck is Kratom? Is it good for me? Should I take it? What's wrong with it? Why is the FDA not making a final decision on it? We're curious. What is Kratom? And how should pharmacists be involved? Or you should tell people to stay away from it, or tell people how to use it properly, regardless. That's coming up. And we're going to have a great show. So if you want to follow along, make some comments, use hashtags to get our attention. Hashtag TWIRx. That's TWIRx. Ask us questions, bring up content, bring up segments. You are welcome to do so. This is your podcast on the Pharmacy Podcast Network. And with that, let's get started with the news. All right. Lots happening this week. And I'll tell you, the first thing I want to bring up is this article that came out in Chicago Business, Crane Chicago Business. And the headline is, "As demand for pharmacists grows, industry has hard time filling positions." And something I'm very proud about this article is the representation of an extremely intelligent pharmacist who knows what's happening in our markets. He's been in our markets. He's been in our chain pharmacy markets himself for over 8 years. Dr. Maurice Shaw, who's the doctor of comedy as well. You know what? Some of the most funny people I've noticed in life over my years, the comedians that have been my favorite comedians, their IQs and their intelligence are so much higher than the average bear, definitely more than me. But a shout out to Maurice for presenting pharmacy and what was really going on with staffing, and how staffing really put a strain on pharmacists and support, and the lack of the entities, our national chain pharmacies, putting enough money and resources into proper staffing, our technicians, payment of our technicians, as well as the opportunity to give time for pharmacists to take breaks, as well as time, which is the most important thing, time for pharmacists to counsel patients, for goodness sakes. Think about how many patients our retail chain pharmacists don't have the time to counsel them, and they may need, you may be the only provider they see for a long time in their community. All right, I want to talk about this. This came out just this week. This is from KTVB.com. That's KTVB Channel 7. And it says Cascade Medical Center uses medication vending machines to combat pharmacy deserts. And the need for pharmacy deserts, this is out of Boise, Idaho. The need for pharmacies to make up those patches of not having any medical facility or pharmacy in the area, these pharmacy deserts that are spreading. It really goes into some of the background of how the pharmacy deserts are spreading. But I also want to bring up the fact that technology, I think it has its use for dispensing medications if you can do it safely with verification and everything. I don't think the vending machines, my personal opinion, are that big of a deal. What I do think is a big deal is that we have community pharmacies out there who are in the communities, who are needed by those communities, and then are not able to stay in business based on the broken payment system that's in place. So that's a public health issue. And that's why PBM reform obviously needs to accelerate. But that's a major issue, is this pharmacy desert issue is going to continue to grow even into 2024. And this is part of it. We just found out from WKYT.com this week, WKYT. Headline is more independent Kentucky pharmacies going out of business. More independent community pharmacies in Kentucky, 70 across Kentucky, are going out of business, according to a report by the Lexington Herald Leader. This is not good news for communities. Think about 70 pharmacies disappearing in a state. How many communities are going to be impacted by those? And that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's why every single one of you that are listening right now, you don't have to be a pharmacist. You don't have to be a technician. You could be someone like me that is just a believer and a supporter of pharmacy care and better pharmacy care, and the people that are supporting that are pharmacists and technicians. But reach out to, I know you hear this a lot, but please do it. Reach out to your local state representative, your local Congress man or woman. Reach out to those people and let them know that you have insider information on the need for pharmacies throughout communities. And the reason for pharmacies collapsing are the payment models that are in place right now, driven by the three biggest of our PBMs. And that's the truth. It's not picking on PBMs. I'm not saying they're evil and, a lot of hyperboil to this. That's not it. It's just math. It's what's happening economically. When you put something in place, it has a domino effect. And those dominoes have been pounding against our pharmacists, our pharmacy technicians, and our independently owned community pharmacies for years, over 10 years now. And now we're starting to see this collapse. We're also seeing the collapse of CVS and Walgreens pharmacies in on themselves. They're closing their own pharmacies because this payment system is like eating their own young. Shout out to CVS Health. You have a payment system in place that's literally destroying your own pharmacies in the communities that need them. It's not rocket science to understand the big macro data here. So think about it. If you're listening, would you write a letter to your local congressperson and just let them know you'd like to talk with them, meet with them for coffee? Better yet, take them to an independent community pharmacy and tour them. I guarantee if you call the independent community pharmacy in your community and you say, I want to use your community pharmacy as a tour for our state representative, they're going to say yes. So get it done. Help out. Do something. All right. Let's talk about Pharmacy Podcast Network real quick. Just a shout out. If you haven't listened to some of our latest, we have some really interesting episodes talking cardiovascular care with Amgen on the NASP Specialty Pharmacy Podcast, the National Association of Specialty Pharmacies. They've been broadcasting and using our platform for over 5 years. We love having them. A shout out to Pharmacy 50 Award winner, Dr. Hussein. You are a rocket ship content developer. We're tracking you on being well through Medium, and some of the articles that are coming out from Hussein, and his work is just incredible. His latest episode of Sports Pharmacy, a podcast, is Bridging Family Medicine and Pharmacy, a talk with Dr. Javidi. You have to listen to this episode. This is really interesting. This is an opportunity for pharmacists and communities to start working with communities, specifically high school sports programs. And if you're in a college town, definitely those college programs. Okay, This Week in Pharmacy, we have a lot going on. We're excited about this. I'm excited to share with you our first episode. So let's hear from Dr. Ashley. Hey, and in This Week in Pharmacy, I want to say welcome back to Dr. Ashley Dwyer. Ashley, you haven't been into the Pharmacy Podcast Network in years. Time's gone by so quickly. But we figured out before recording that you were, first time you were on with me, we talked to you way back in August 27th of 2020, and I can't believe how fast the time has gone. Welcome back.
I know, that's crazy. We're like knee deep in the pandemic right there.
I know, really. And we didn't even know. We were kind of almost, that was kind of the beginnings of it, but both of our lives have expanded and our businesses have grown, which is, I want to say congratulations to you. And we've both made some major changes. So before we get started into what I really brought you here today, which is really to dig into, your new business and being an entrepreneur as a pharmacist, tell us about yourself, just in case people didn't listen to the original episode, which was taking care of yourself first. I'm going to have a link in the show notes to Ashley's original interview. But tell us, Ashley, just in case people don't know you, who's Ashley Dwyer?
Oh my goodness. Well, hello, everybody. I don't even know. I draw blanks at this. I'm an entrepreneur now, right? But I did start out going to pharmacy school, graduated from the University of Florida in 2014. And started working retail pharmacy. I know. So spent 3 years at Walgreens, around 3.5 years at Publix. If you're in the Southeast and familiar with Publix, best grocery store ever. I recently moved to Texas and everyone's like, but we have HEB. And I'm like, it does not compare.
Publix has such an amazing produce section and the cheeses and everything's fancy.
So great.
Like I know exactly what you're talking about.
You can't beat it. So did that for about almost 7 years before I hung up my coat for good. But in the meantime of doing school and kind of going through the gamut of pharmacy, I competed in bodybuilding competitions, like bikini competitions when I was in pharmacy school. So found my love for fitness and nutrition and all things there. Figured I could take what I learned and incorporate it into pharmacy, and it wasn't possible. It really just wasn't in the retail setting. So then I had a slew of my own health issues brought on by just like poor diet, exercising too much stress, just an overload on the female hormonal system. And throughout that journey of Western medicine, functional medicine, preventative medicine, all of that, kind of found my real passion in preventative medicine. Started the Big Day Nutrition in 2018. We literally worked with brides only and people getting ready for big events. And then quit pharmacy in 2020 to do the coaching full-time. Rebranded in 2021 as TeamBDN Coaching, of what you see now, which is not brides, all women. Basically, we work with women, especially 25 to 45, on any type of health goals, but mostly like hormonal. Oh, there's the website. Hormonal issues, PCOS, hypothyroid, weight loss. So lifestyle changes, pre and postpartum. It's been amazing. And so I guess, Todd, 3.5 years later, here we are, and we're still been full-time for just over that 3 years. It's been awesome.
I said to you before we started recording about documenting some of these pharmacists over the years and where are they now special. And it is so rewarding for me, as who is an entrepreneur just like you, who goes through the same struggles that you go through, And now I have employees, which is just a whole new level of what that's like too. And I think if you would have given up all of those times where you got punched in the face and you weren't making enough money and you weren't able to jump up, like you could have easily stopped. So I want you just to kind of, this ties back into your philosophies because I've read your material, which is amazing. This goes back to being someone who can take responsibility for their own life, which comes back to being an entrepreneur. But share that with us, like share that whole experience of leveling up.
Oh my gosh. Well, here's the thing, and I always like to say this, right? Like drugs sell themselves. People come to the counter and they get the drugs. You don't have to do any marketing. You don't have to do any of that. So when you kind of start entrepreneurship where you have to sell your services, sell a product, sell yourself, it can be like very uncomfortable. We didn't get marketing training or business training, or we do have some management training, especially if you were like a pharmacy manager and you're taking care of employees, but it's a lot of learning. It's a lot. And I've hired numerous business coaches to help me get here, so that I could learn, same philosophy of hiring a health coach, right? Like you don't know what you don't know. So I want them to teach me, and I want them to teach me in an expedited fashion. So I always have that accountability. If I feel like I'm slipping and I don't want to do things anymore, I have someone to turn to who's like, no, here's what we're going to do. We're going to reframe, etc. Plus, I think it's just, for me, it's just my passion. Like there is no going back. There is no turning backwards. Like I'm going to make this work no matter what, because I just am so passionate about it and teaching people lifestyle changes and better health and fitness and just all of that I don't know. I don't even know what another world looks like. So yeah, there might be tears and we might have some really stressful days and want to just throw everything out the window, but then we kind of just like put our big girl pants back on and get up the next day and continue on.
No, I know what you mean. And it's a learning experience that continues to hit these levels. I'm at a level myself in this business that it now, instead of going in succession steps, and the steps from one to another is always different. You set up your LLC, you got your logo going, you made your first dollar to your client. That's where I was in 2009, 2010. Now, 15 years later, it's almost multi-dimensional of how many things are happening at the exact same time that you have to pay attention to.
Yeah. Yep. It's fun, isn't it?
How about, here's a category that was brand new to me because I never experienced this except when I started becoming successful in developing evidence-based content in podcasting and supportive and conferences and social media. I attracted haters, and I had never experienced haters before, and I didn't understand why there was animosity. And then I read a book on it, and it's just the human nature that there's, in some people, there's the switch that gets thrown when it's like either a jealousy thing or but there was a saying, I can't remember who said it, Ashley. If you know who said it, you'll have to quote it. And that is, you will never be hated or judged by people that are more successful than you.
Oh, I did post this not too long ago and I can't remember who quoted it, but no, it's so true. And if you have haters, you're doing something good. You're probably doing something right.
True. All right. Let's talk about these programs, because this has also leveled up for you. You were focused in on women that were getting ready to become married in their big day, and you were structural about that. But now that's quantified, and it's grown into customized macros and fitness plans and coaching and community support and kind of like the whole outlay. So talk to me about TeamBDN.
Yeah. So I did the bride thing and I went to expos and I did all that, but then I had so many women who were coming to me that weren't getting ready for events, who were like, hey, I have this question, or hey, can you help me? And so just through the development of seeing the need in the market, I didn't want to turn people away for like just a very, very specific niche, because that niche came to me originally because I was helping all my girlfriends get married, right? And I was helping them get in shape for their wedding. And so I focused on that because most women want to just crash diet right away. And the crash diet's terrible. So I was like, let me fix this industry first. And then there was just such a need for education for all women, and especially like pre-menopausal. Menopausal is its own thing too, but just childbearing age and women, to kind of help you do the steps now to maybe help menopause later on, or just get you set up for postpartum. And so we started taking on all clients. And then I really, maybe this is the pharmacist in me and the science nerd in me, I really fell in love with the way the body worked and the systems and the HPA axis and like cortisol and how it interacts with everything. And so the more functional side of health. And so it just kind of evolved into macros and specific fitness plans and blood work and, certain supplement recommended. It just like kind of took a mind of its own and started snowballing. And now we're finally at the place where like, this is what we do. It's more of a specialized coaching, not like your everyday weight loss, even though we do that. It's just, there's rarely someone who comes to us who's like, I'm eating too much and I'm not exercising at all, help me. It's more like, hey, I'm eating the right things, or I've been in a diet for 40 years, or I have PCOS or insulin resistance or something going on, perimenopausal, like, how do I combat these hormones, or what do I do to finally see success, without going to weight loss drugs and things like that. So that's where we've shifted. And that is now what TeamBDN coaching is. We kept the big day nutrition. This is where the BDN is, because everyone called us team, we referred to ourselves as TeamBDN anyway. But we finally rebranded and did all of that in 2021. Was like, okay, this is our new direction now.
That is so exciting. Your social media is crazy. I love watching the mixture of education-based information. You're so funny. I think you could have like your own little comedy TikTok with some of the content that you put out. I absolutely enjoy your content.
God, listen, like if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you essentially have to be a content creator these days. I didn't know. So now I'm like, okay, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to have fun with it. Like we're just going to have fun with it. I don't care, make people laugh, but also educate, because it's dry material, right?
Yes.
So this is what we do now.
I love it. And I love that you're fun, you're human, you make fun of yourself. That's one of my most favorite things about you is no one makes more fun of Ashley than Ashley. And it's like, that's the way I feel about myself. Like I love taking what we struggle with as humans and turn it into something that is like sharing to our viewing audience. They're like, hey, listen, we're all going through this. So, and you're extremely transparent too. There's no fakeness about you, because you could double back on a post from a year ago and see like what you've been through. So it's almost like you're storytelling through your social media.
So I was going to say, do I make fun of myself that much? But what
Every
I
once
do,
in a while you do, but it's funny.
what I do is I'm extremely transparent, because I think people assume as a coach or as a doctor, like as a pharmacist or whatever, like we have it all figured out. We don't go through the same challenges and emotions that clients do. And it's like, oh no, we definitely do. Let me share this, because you're not seeing that on other influencers' pages, right? Like I want you guys to understand it's going to be hard and it's going to be difficult, but it's going to be worth it.
Yeah, and I want to give a shout out too, because just like me, you've now taken on other people on your team that really help to expand what you do. So I want to give a shout out to Luna,
Lana.
like Lana. Yeah, give a shout out to each of them and talk to us a little bit about each of them.
Yeah, so I freaking love my team right now. We're finally in a great place where we have like such a good culture and such good like energy. So Coach Lana actually used to own her own coaching company, and then she kind of wanted to, business ownership is is an interesting place. So she really fell in love with the coaching and wanted to just focus on coaching. And I was like, please come to my team. I met her in like a business mastermind I was in. So she is awesome. She's like my right-hand lady. She's our head coach. And so she kind of takes care of the things that are under me. So Coach Lana is our oldest coach on the team right now. And then under her, we have Coach Nikki, who has been with us for 7 months now. And she is a firecracker as well. So I just love that, like, because I don't take on clients anymore. I want that to be like I'm very transparent about that too. Like, yes, I was the coaching and the face of the team, but like Now we take on clients and they go to my coaches because I trust them so much and they are such qualified individuals and will be able to give you like way more attention than I can at this point. So if I can't give you the attention you want, I'm not going to take you on. But Coach Nikki also brings like a different flair to the team because she's a mom of 3. And so she understands like the kid struggles and the packing for, you know, lunches and how to do things with kids and how to make time out of nothing. So she's amazing. I love watching her grow with the team so far. And then I couldn't run this company without Ashley.
Ashley.
Without Ashley, I know we're both Ashley, so it confuses clients because if you ever jump on a consult call for our team, you will speak to Ashley. And she also, I call her my assistant. She's not, but I almost feel like she is. We talk almost all day, every day, just about what's going on. But she's a mom of 4 as well, like 4 girls. And she takes her fitness very seriously. Like she's very into it. Military spouse, as it says, like Ashley is the epitome of my team. She's the rock of me.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then we have Melanie. Yay. So Melanie is our mental health coach. So she is a certified mental health specialist. So we bring on a mental health coach once a month for team Zoom calls where we go over a specific topic and then we have a Q&A after. So it's just a different element to have for clients to kind of be exposed to where you can talk things out because a lot of this process is very mental. It's also very emotional, like healing relationships with food, all or nothing mindset, things like that. So bringing in a mental health coach to kind of have these calls and go over these topics and be available for clients is kind of something I'm really proud that we offer. And Melanie has been a superstar with it so far. So
excellent. Well, I'm very impressed. By the way, I want to give a shout out to the listeners. Listen, this is an interesting opportunity for you listening. You're a busy pharmacy technician. You're a busy pharmacist. You have a family, you have a life. I want you to just take a pause, go to TeamBDNCoaching.com. Once again, TeamBDNCoaching.com. And there's a section under About that says, still confused on which program to choose. Take a short quiz to find out which plan is best suited for you. Just take the quiz to familiarize yourself with what's going on and how Ashley helps, how her team helps. Tell us kind of what you scrub through the data that you collect through that quiz.
I mean, honestly, we just look at who submits it and what their results are. We don't do much with the data except reach out and see if you're interested in like talking through your goals more. So like a free consult of sorts. And then it's not even like we're pitching you on the program. It's just like, hey, how can we help? So we take that, we see exactly what you're looking for because we have your answers and then dive more into those specific topics because there's so much info that we need.
Yep. You know, the focus, the pedigree that came from Big Day into BDN is very unique because you kind of got real granular and then you started expanding. But that granular focus ties into other podcasts that we're doing that we want you to get involved in. We want you to do some discussions with Hussein at the Sports Pharmacy Podcast and Dr. Archambault at Sex PharmD and Dr. Daniel Plummer with MaternityRx, as well as Robert Kress, known as the godfather of functional pharmacy.
I love that.
Yeah, and what's really funny about him is we talked about this on his episode. He came on long ago. It was like 10 years ago. And everybody thought he was a weirdo. Like he was like, people like were thinking with being a pharmacist who has his PharmD and all the pharmacology and all, he's de-prescribing and he's like almost reversing the matrix. He's taking the whole system and like turning into, well, how do we go the functional route, instead of just the pharmaceutical route? And it's a nice blend. It's being honest with people's bodies and what is specific to them. And that kind of ties into what you talk about too.
No, I was going to say that's exactly it. And we try and get people off of medication. So I'm like the pharmacist who doesn't want you to take drugs.
Right. And do it a way that we can do it. It might not work for 100% of the people, but
No, yeah,
guaranteed it's
yeah.
going to help you. Like if you do this program and you even titrate down to a specific level of something, it's only going to help your body from a holistic perspective anyway.
Yeah.
All right. So am I going to see you at a national conference this year? Are you going to APHA? Are you going to any of the pharma conference? We're going to have to meet up at some conference at some point.
I haven't been to a pharmacy conference in so many years. I have so many other conferences this year, but they're more health, fitness, coaching related.
Yeah, we were talking about conferences for just a short time, and I'm going to my very first podcast conference. I've never been to any conferences like you said, except for pharmacy. So I can't wait. Can't wait to share that with everybody. But I want to thank you for being on This Week in Pharmacy and how special it's been to watch you expand and grow. I want to congratulate you again for all of your work. I know how hard it is, and promise that you'll come back on the network more often than once every 3 years.
Okay, I promise. We'll do that.
Thank you. Hey, to learn more, please go to teambdncoaching.com. That's teambdncoaching.com. And we thank you so much for listening. Give us a tag if you've thought that this was interesting content. You'll see us on Instagram talking about Ashley, as well as LinkedIn. Make sure that you reach out to Ashley if you're not at work with her. And hey, if you're into this, I could see connections happening, as they should.
I want to meet everybody.
That's right.
Slide me a DM.
Exactly. Thank you, Ashley. All right. Hey, we've been excited. We've been adding people to This Week in Pharmacy. And just like you saw the interview with Ashley Dwyer, Dr. Dwyer, if you are a pharmacist, if you are a technician, if you are a pharmacy professional that is doing something that you believe is innovative, you believe is pushing pharmacy care forward, reach out to me. I would love to have you on This Week in Pharmacy. It's important that we support the innovators and people like you. Or if you're in a sector of pharmacy that you think that there are ways to make improvements, please reach out to us. One of the pharmacists that are committed to doing exactly that is someone who's also a lawyer, Dr. Darshan Kulkarni. Let's hear from him now.
Imagine being part of a headline that reads, "Pharmacy owners pay over $4.6 million in a fraud case." It's not a position anyone in the healthcare industry wants to be in. Hi, this is Darshan Kulkarni, and you're listening to Darshan Talks on This Week in Pharmacy. Recently, a major incident unfolded in Philadelphia. It involved the current and former owners of a Center City pharmacy. They agreed to pay over $4.6 million to settle civil investigations concerning improper Medicare and Medicaid billing. This case is a reminder of the severe consequences of non-compliance in the pharmacy industry. The heart of the matter lies in the billing practices. The pharmacy, under its current and former ownership, billed for prescription medications that were not dispensed. This includes high-cost medications like Latuda, Sprycel, and Truvada. The allegations include billing for expensive formulations while providing cheaper ones and making claims for medicines not given to patients. Such actions not only violate trust, but also federal law, specifically the False Claims Act. Now, I know this might sound a bit scary, but here's where I come in. I'm Darshan Kulkarni. I'm a pharmacist, I'm an attorney, and I'm your friendly regulatory and compliance attorney at the Kulkarni Law Firm. I'm here to help you navigate these tricky waters. So if you're worried about your pharmacy's practices or just want to double check that you're doing everything right, give me a shout at 302-252-6959. That's 302-252-6959. Let's chat. Imagine being part of a headline that reads, "Pharmacy owners pay over $4.6 million in a fraud case." It's not a position anyone in the healthcare industry wants to be in. Hi, this is Darshan Kulkarni, and you're listening to Darshan Talks on This Week in Pharmacy.
Hey, thank you, Darshan, for that update. I'm not sure you know this, but Darshan Kulkarni is one of the Pharmacy 50 most influential people in our profession right now, based on the complex issues that he actually gets involved in, from Kulkarni law firm as clients that he's taking on, but also solving these, helping to solve these major issues, just like what we just saw with Center City and the Philadelphia case, where there were some fraudulent practices in improper use of Medicare and Medicaid billing. So I like the mix up of this show. If you once again want to participate, we would love to have you on This Week in Pharmacy and bringing things up that are impacting pharmacy care in our profession. All right, next up, what in the world is Kratom? Should I be on it? Like I said in our intro, I'm curious. So let's take a listen to my interview with Dallas Vasquez. Hey, and in This Week in Pharmacy, what is Kratom? It's this herbal extract. Is it safe? Is it an alternative to opioids and usage in the hands of our physician and pharmacists? That's where I like all of these things that are coming out to the public, especially for the public safety. Even some of the drinks that are coming out. We always source through Cannabis Pharmacy University access to people who know what's going on, the experts that we can reach out to, pull through, and really understand combination of different ingredients, the world of rare diseases, senior care, our children through pediatrics. I mean, there's a lot to talk about. So today I'm excited to welcome a guy who we met through the Cannabis Pharmacy University team. A shout out to Josh and Steve. Dallas Vasquez, you are leading a company called Mitra9. I want to welcome you to This Week in Pharmacy, and I just want you to share a little bit about who you are and how you got into the fascinating realm of Kratom.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Todd. So I'm the co-founder and CEO of Mitra9, and I started using or researching Kratom about a decade ago, and that research was all about finding alternatives to alcohol. I was starting to start my entrepreneurial life back then, and when you're the driver of your own business every morning, it doesn't help if you wake up with a hangover. And so went down the rabbit hole of the World Wide Web, and Kratom popped up. And so I, ordered some Kratom off the internet. I gave it a try, and it was tough. It's just a non-water soluble green powder. You didn't know what to do with it. I put it in a shaker cup. I tried to drink it as fast as I could. It was not enjoyable. And I promised myself I would never do that again. However, 30 minutes later, I really started to feel the effects of Kratom and enjoyed it. So started to research Kratom quite a bit. And at the time I was living in Ohio, and Kratom it really wasn't widely available unless you were on the internet. And so that kind of just faded away. A few years went by, and I moved down to Florida. And in Florida, I was introduced to this thing called a kava bar. And rather than going out with friends to a typical bar, we went to a kava bar, and I was presented a menu. It felt a bit complex. The environment was a bit hippie-ish, and and so I ordered a Kratom tea, which is just really a brown bitter tea, just as if you were to make yourself a cup of tea at home, and sat down and had a conversation with friends, drank that tea. And again, enjoyed the effects of that, and started to do that with friends on a more regular basis. So it was through those visits that kind of led to the research and development stages of Mitra9, and so not everyone likes tea. Kratom is again a bitter tea, and so what it really led me to was how can we make this into a more suitable kind of everyday great tasting beverage that you could purchase at a 7-Eleven or a gas station. And so 8 or 9 months of making beverages, pouring them down the drain, all the disgusting combinations of juices and this and that, eventually led us to an iteration, if you will, or a version of what's in the marketplace today, which is, a very nice, lightly carbonated 12-ounce can. And so what made this powerful for me is that about 4 or 5 months into drinking Kratom tea, my wife kind of turned around and said, we haven't had alcohol in 4 or 5 months. And that kind of single powerful statement is kind of what started us down the path of Kratom and seeing if we can make this more widely available to consumers.
That's really interesting, Dallas. Kratom is the name of that powder, like you were saying, leaves from Indonesia tree, from the coffee family that produces chemicals that behave similar, I guess you could say, to an opioid, which could be used kind of as a pain reliever, sold as a dietary supplement. I don't know what the regulation is of some of the herbal medicines in the United States, but the FDA holds that Kratom does not meet the definition of a dietary supplement that they have to really dig into yet. Although things can, always change with the FDA and how they decide to do stuff. Kratom, like you were saying, it's usually a powdered form you consume in some kind of drink or a tea. I don't know if you can use it in any kind of like baking or cooking per se to add it to an oatmeal or something like that. But you can also find it from I believe, like capsules that you can, consume it. Tell us the difference between Kratom and kava.
Yeah, sure. So Kratom, as you mentioned, is from the coffee family, a plant where the leaves have been chewed for centuries. Kava is also a plant from the pepper family, and that is not the leaf; it's the root that is pulverized and consumed. And so both of those come in traditional forms, as you were alluding to, often in a powder or a leaf form, just like a tea bag, perhaps. And then there's what the last few years, I believe, is brought to the marketplace, which is kind of the emergence of extracts. And so, with powder and leaf, Kratom is a complex plant with over 50 alkaloids, of which a few of those alkaloids are have a few years of study and a lot of white papers on mitragynine and 7-hydroxymitragynine, but the rest of the alkaloids are fairly unstudied and not as well known, which kind of led us to extracts, in our opinion, being the safest way to consume Kratom, because we really take the most studied alkaloid in the plant and what has been described as the safest alkaloid, mitragynine, and that's really all that's left in the extract that we're providing and putting into our products. So yeah, Kratom has certainly started out as a powder, and then ended up people liked it as a tea, which was just like a crushed leaf form. It made its way to extracts in the early, kind of mid 2000s. But most of those products were still unflavored and they were very raw material back then. Since then, the technology's improved. Extract technology has improved greatly. The farming processes, the quality control, the way that companies are packaging it, labeling it, and bringing transparency to consumers. All of those things have improved. Unfortunately, most of it has been fairly self-regulated, as there just really isn't that much guidance in terms of labeling and packaging for consumers.
Yeah, that quickly makes me think. So there's a lot of pain specialists out there, even pharmacists. That we actually have a pharmacist on our network, Dr. Garofoli. Mark Garofoli is known as the pain guy. He goes to conferences as a speaker. He teaches at WVU School of Pharmacy. He's teaching his students specifically about pain on a multitude. I mean, pain's all over the map. And so one of my ideas as I'm listening to you is the supplement being used as an alternative to something else, like opioids, for example, especially if you're titrating off larger doses and you're being monitored by a physician pharmacist, titrating down to a smaller amount. And then sure enough, someone like a physician or pharmacist understands that kratom would be an option, and really understanding like what's the comparison. You said that there isn't as much research right now as there could be in other medications being used or other substances being used. I think of the drawbacks that the compounds, of mixing things on purpose in order to give some type of pain relief. And again, there isn't really as much research per se, but do you see any psychological or physical dependency like we see in opioids, which it can create dependency, it can create addiction? Do you see any like similarities between the kratom and some of these other substances, which the media and the public know as being very toxic and dangerous if not used correctly? I'm thinking of like opioids and fentanyl.
Yeah. So, I think, in 2021, the World Health Organization, was asked to investigate the risks of kratom, and they kind of declined, and to recommend a ban on kratom. And so, a lot of that report and things were investigating, just as, you asked, is about, just abuse was a high priority, as well as addiction. And so I think it really depends on, the way you use it, and then the form that it's being used in, right? So the plant certainly has properties and alkaloids in it that would be have for managing chronic pain. There's alkaloids in the plant for treating opioid withdrawal symptoms. Has been a popular approach for kratom in the past. And I would say that in its powder and in its leaf form, that I think that in a lot of cases, if you were to read white papers, you would conclude that those things are true. In extract form, when you start to isolate some of those alkaloids, I would say those properties start to change quite a bit, and the use case also starts to change. For an extract version of kratom, when you're down to just one alkaloid that's really present in the plant, you start to lose some of the other effects of kratom. And we think that the 7-hydroxymitragynine has been one of the alkaloids that has come under question to act on the opioid receptors, and that is an alkaloid that we have taken steps to basically eliminate. It's also one that the Kratom Consumer Protection Act is also regulating, which is great. Like we're pro regulation. So yeah, I mean the short answer is I think that in its traditional form as a leaf or a powder product, there are absolutely alkaloids in the plant that act in similar ways as opioids do.
Do you see kratom being ingested and then also used as like a topical of any sort, or is it strictly ingested in a form of some kind of drink?
Yeah, so traditionally it's definitely in powder leaf form, and that's usually in a drink. Capsules have been popular. I have not seen any products that in the topical form have worked. I've seen a couple that I've experimented with, for lack of a better word, and I was unable to really feel the effects as in the same way that kratom is in liquid form.
I looked up some documented long-term uses of kratom. There really isn't a lot of data per se, and I'm sure there is, but it's probably not published data. And of course, the FDA just seems to be not really interested or not really digging down into it at this stage. However, we know that if these products are available, just like OTC products, I want our pharmacist aware so that they can talk with people that walk into their stores and say, hey, I'm interested in hearing more about Kratom. Instead of doing Dr. Google searching, if they could ask a pharmacist or a physician right there as to what they think the drawbacks or the benefit, is. I've heard comparisons being done in trying to come up with ideas around dosing. That's might be kind of hard to do. Um, as we would hear about people talk about echinacea or ashwagandha or something like that, or some other substance that's become very popular. We see a surge in a lot of our functional pharmacists out there, our holistic pharmacists out there, who are deprescribing. They're the pharmacists who are saying, hey, I have a 50, a 52, a 65, a 78-year-old that's on 19 medications. And over a period of, say, a year to 2 years, you might have a pharmacist working with them to get them off of half or more of those medications. And then also knowing what is available in the natural form, what is the substance that's out there that could be coupled with someone's therapy based on allergic reactions, based on even a pharmacogenomics test, based on nutrient studies, and then where Kratom would fit in helping to govern a pain or govern anxiety. Tell me about the conditions. Tell me about, like, let's pick the top 3 conditions of what you've seen over the years. Anxiety, pain, something that would become supplemental where you think that the Kratom fits best.
Yeah, so it's always been described that in low doses, Kratom produces a euphoric effect, and that at higher doses produces quote unquote opioid like effects, right? and so the I think they're more anecdotal, but increased work capacities, sociability, positive mood states, all of those things are associated with Kratom. And when you think of that, a whole bunch comes to mind. You start to think about, someone that is taking a prescription for depression, or you think about someone that's taking many prescriptions for some type of pain relief. You think about someone taking prescriptions for anxiety, and that's one positive about kava, really, is that kava is a dietary supplement. It's regulated by the FDA. There's not much of a gray area there, and kava's been proven to treat anxiety. And I think that's a really powerful weapon in terms of holistic medicine that any pharmacist should be comfortable talking about, and they should consider it kind of one of the tools in their tool bags. And then you've got in terms of treating pain in a natural and holistic way, there are a number of reports that Kratom treats pain. And so I think that it would be it would behoove any pharmacist to consider Kratom an option when treating pain. And that's really anyone from any age of 21 and over. I don't think that is age related at all. I would much rather look for a holistic plant-based option as opposed to a pharmaceutical pill any day of the week.
Yeah, there's a use for pharmaceuticals, obviously. However, we do know, based on research, based on feedback from physicians, pharmacists, nurse practitioners, that there's long-term effects of pharma manufacturing or pharma products, pharmaceutical products, that you might be taking for one condition, and then sure enough, it has a liver or it has a kidney issue because of the filtration. When I start thinking of some of the natural products that doesn't mean that there isn't an interaction. It doesn't mean that they couldn't be dangerous. What it means is it's less likely to have a secondary issue like your kidney, like your stress on your liver or something. Have you heard about research based on ongoing usage of a kratom product and how the liver, how the kidney is impacted?
Yeah, so and that's one of the things about Kratom where, in terms of advocacy, we hope that it is not taken away from us, right? It's the ability to do proper research to conclude on some of those things over a longer period of time. Like psilocybin comes to mind where, we just weren't able to study those things for a long time, and now here we are kind of reversing those decisions. There's a lot of information out there about kava and its effect on liver and damage that was previously reported, although there's been numerous reports and studies in the last 12 months to kind of debunk those things. With kratom, I would say we're in the infancy of those things. Unfortunately, there's just not a lot of material out there to talk about the long-term effects of something that's only been used, maybe for the last 10 years. We think that, in the US, there's somewhere between maybe 2 and 5 million people that are using kratom. Unfortunately, up until the last couple of years, that's been, very restricted to purchases on the internet, and there just isn't a lot of data about who the consumers are. And that's one thing about, bringing kratom type products into the mainstream, is that we're able to capture who our consumers are, and then we're able to create feedback loops of, kind of why they're using the product and what it does for them. And then we'd really like to start sharing that research with, the community, with pharmacists, so that we can start to get some of that, those use cases and that data back to the public.
So we're going to plug into you for additional discussions. I want to bring you on with pharmacists who have started to get into kratom, kava, other supplements that are available to the public right now. But they know that there should be some guidance in place, especially if there's any kind of drug substance or substance to substance interaction. And that in and of itself is fascinating to me. So I have to have you back, Dallas, as a resource that we can pick your brain. For listeners, mitra-9.com. That's Mitra, MITRA -9, the number 9.com. You can find information on Mitra9 and actually even try products. There's a seltzer variety kratom seltzer that I'm going to actually be ordering myself. We've asked Cannabis Pharmacy University to keep us updated on any new products that come out. What do you shout out to listeners, our pharmacists? You might even have a physician listening right now that wants to try something for themselves. Where do you think that they should start?
Yep. So, I again, the website's a great place to find Mitra9 products. I think that everyone should start by doing their own research. Don't believe everything that you read. One source of information that Mitra9 has is, we have a QR code on our can that is an informational page that will bring you to, it's really the good, bad, and ugly, to be honest. There's information on there, not just from Mitra9, but from the DEA, from, the National Institute of Health. So I would just start by research, and then I would, really start with picking a few reputable brands in the space, and then picking a few products that you think that you might enjoy. The products range, all the way from just raw powder to gummies to beverages these days. So you can really find any form factor that, might be your favorite. And then I would always start with a low dosage. If you're consuming kratom powder, you might want to start by 1 to 3 grams of kratom powder. If you're consuming a product that's made with extract, you're going to want to start with something between 30 and 50 milligrams of extract, and then you might just want to have or consume half of that product to find out how your body is interacting with it. And yeah, always pay attention to labeling, right? We don't suggest or advocate about proprietary blend products because you don't know what you're putting in your body, and just be smart about paying attention to the ingredients that you're consuming.
Yep. On the Mitra-9.com site, you'll be able to go and read about some of the ingredients that you list on the products. If you're curious, reach out to us at Pharmacy Podcast, as well as to Cannabis Pharmacy, which you can look at cannabispharmacy.com. And we're going to put a discount code out there for your order on cannabispharmacy.com. If you want, you can use PPN number 20 for 20% off of your order if you're curious. But hey, Dallas, like I said, we're going to have you back. So this isn't the last time you're going to be joining us, and we'll start digging down into some more specific conversations. But we are very thankful to you for coming on This Week in Pharmacy.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. I appreciate everything that you're doing for the industries that you're involved with. I think a voice and a network that digs for facts is important for everybody. So thank you.
Great, Dallas. We'll be talking to you soon. And listeners, thank you. If you have information on Kratom or Kava yourself as a pharmacist or an experienced person that you've had more data, please reach out to the Pharmacy Podcast Network. We're going to be doing a lot more fusing of multiple conversations around conditions, around supplements, around drug and drug supplement interactions. So be on the lookout. Thank you for listening. All right. This has been a wonderful This Week in Pharmacy. Thank you so much to our listeners. You are why we do what we do. We're pushing content out more. So especially with your involvement, if you are going to the APHA 2024 in Orlando on March 25th, 22nd to 25th, it will be in Orlando. This is going to be a great time to come together, as I always say, together RX. And we will be there. We'll be running the Locked On Pharmacy podcast for the, I think it's the third or fourth year in a row. We're very excited to be doing so. And I'm excited that Shane Jereminski and Bled Tanoe are going to be there in a booth, which is going to be the Pharmacy Guild booth. If you are curious about how the Pharmacy Guild is going to disrupt and help to rebuild our profession in bringing us a trusted structural union in chain retail pharmacy, this is big news. They're going to actually be at the APHA 2024. We are going to be covering more information that's going to involve some of their updates, but don't wait for me. Go to pharmacyguild.org. That's pharmacyguild.org. Hey, thank you for listening to This Week in Pharmacy. I hope you have a tremendous week. And once again, reach out to me in the Pharmacy Podcast Network, and we'll talk to you next week.